Welcome to the Manifestation and Money podcast, Inna.
Thank you so much for having me, Jen.
I would love for you to share with the listeners just who you are and what your story is.
I essentially went from running around to doctors and different health practitioners for years and years because I had psoriasis, I had digestive issues, I had anxiety, and I had really, really bad lower back pain. And I constantly gave my power away. I constantly felt like somebody understood my body or who I was better than I did. And that just wasn't working for me. And so eventually I had an experience where a chiropractor basically refused to work on my back because I was in agony at the time and told me that my body was stuck. And so I went home and I decided to heal myself, and by connecting to my own body, I was able to, I guess, awaken a capacity to tune in and see what's really going on. And then I was shown where the issues started from and how they became what I ended up having with all the health issues. And I also realized that I could see into other people's bodies. I kind of continued exploring, and within a few weeks, I had no more back pain. My digestion improved. That still took quite a while to completely transform because that was very ancestral and generational. My psoriasis that I had for 10 years disappeared and never came back. My anxiety went down, and I realized that there was something in this for me to really understand and work with and help other people. And so since then, I've written several books, one of them, The Secret Language of Your Body, that sold over 1 million copies and has already been published in 27 different languages. And I actually got an email from my publisher a day ago saying that it's going to be in its 28th language this year. So yeah, that's been amazing. And then I've just been teaching people how to do the same, how to connect to their own bodies and heal themselves for the last 25 years.
That's amazing. And you said you were giving your power away. So by going through this process, you were able to take back and tune in with your own body. The books that you have written then, are they teaching people how to tune into their own body to kind of figure out what is causing their illnesses or issues that they're having?
Well, I guess all of them in a different way. The Secret Language of Your Body, which was probably the most well-known one out of them all, is all about that connecting and understanding that each organ, each part of our body has wisdom inside of it. And that wisdom can be guiding us forward or holding us back, essentially. So I know your show is about abundance, for instance. Like, people don't know that lower back pain is all to do with finances. So the more you stress, the more you are afraid, the more likely you are to have lower back pain around purpose, finances, success. The right side of the body is all about purpose and, can I live my purpose? Can I financially provide for my family and myself? So again, people who have a weaker right side usually have much more struggle with their financial life. The spine in itself is all about support, but I found in my, I guess, teaching and tuning into people that people who have a lot of issues with their spine will often struggle with their work life, and that could be that they're putting too much pressure, or they just have rigidity inside of whatever they're doing, and it's reflecting back in their spine. There's a lot that the body's showing us, including about, our finances, because that is such a huge part of our life.
Yeah, so you're saying our physical manifestations in our body are showing up and giving us clues about issues that we're having in our life. And I believe from looking through some of your stuff, you're talking about generational stuff too, that you could be carrying on from your ancestors, even that you don't even realize is an issue.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that I became aware of in terms of my ancestors was that in my 20s, I had this really intense fear of living on the street and just not having enough money to pay for my house and my bills. And I should say that probably started coming up from when I was, I don't know, maybe 18. And I remember thinking, why do I have this? It's not like I've ever lived on the street. I'm young, I can create in my life. And then I remember talking to my cousins, and they said the same things. And both of us had our grandparents who had gone through the war and lost their families and had been on their own on the kind of on the streets or in a camp situation where they did not have a home. And it just made complete sense to me once I started putting all the pieces together of that fear that was given to us, that all of us were like, oh, where is this coming from? Because that's not our actual physical experience, but it was definitely in there.
Yeah. So when we go down the topic of manifestation, then what are some of the ways you think that people unknowingly sabotage their manifestation if they're carrying around this excess baggage?
A lot of people absorbed everything that their family believed about money and success when they were children. And all of those beliefs are so deep about money doesn't grow on trees, we need to struggle, money's really hard to get, I'm afraid, or I don't know how, or I'm not good enough. So, all of those types of universal beliefs that are really deep inside of us usually manifest as people get older and they don't feel that they deserve it. They don't feel that they can receive or really hold it within themselves. So they're pushing those experiences away and sabotaging, and often sabotaging just before they're about to have a breakthrough in terms of something really profound happening.
Mhm. Yeah. So if we were flipping the script then here from going from pushing away stuff, I know you talk about something that's called the attractor archetype. So can you explain exactly what that is?
We have different chakras, energy centers, and they all either help us to manifest or they hold us back when they're blocked. And so the attractor archetype is kind of a combination of what is going on through all of these chakras, and are we really allowing, or are we blocking, or are we second guessing constantly and doubting? And if I can just share a quick experience, I guess I've had so many around this, but I'll talk about manifesting to get my book published because so many people sabotage that or they don't believe that they can. And so when I first had my first book published, or just before, I had all these people who were saying to me, oh, it can't happen, it's too hard, publishers don't publish people who are your age, because I was pretty young at the time, I was in my 20s, all sorts of things like that. And in my mind, I was like, every time I heard it, I had this word, and the word was delete. And so I just go, as they were speaking, I would just kind of pretend to listen and go, delete, delete, delete. And I'd go, this is not how it's going to happen for me. And then I would say to them, I would go, well, I'm sorry that you've had this experience, but that's not how I'm going to experience it. And I was very, very strong in holding that. And eventually I did meet a publisher. It was very easy. He basically invited me to have a conversation with him, and he said to me, I think it's going to be, your book's going to be a bestseller. When are you going to write it? Because I'm ready to publish it. So he said that, and he did. And then, but that was in Australia. And then I really, really wanted to get it published kind of in the US and universally. And he wasn't doing that at that time. And most people again said, well, leave it with him. He'll find someone. But I don't work like that. It's like if I want something, I get it. That's how I believe things happen. So I was actually trying so hard. And again, this is a mistake that people make. I was trying so, so hard to manifest it. And I just kept feeling like I was hitting this brick wall. So I met several publishers. I was speaking to them. So it wasn't just thinking about it. I was actively contacting people. And then we got to a point, and I remember I really wanted this particular publisher, and they were like, okay, but you need to prove this to us, you need to prove that to us. And they were in the US. And I remember thinking to myself, hold on a sec, I'm doing this the completely wrong way. Because if I have to prove something to a publisher, how much are they going to help with promoting this? Like, how far is this going to go? No, that's not what I want. And I actually stopped. And then because what people don't understand and don't do as well is that they don't create a relationship with, I guess, with the divine beings that can help you. And I had been doing that since I was 21. And I remember going, okay, I'm trying to push this in my physical kind of reality, and I can only see what I can see. And I know that you can see a much bigger picture that I can't see. So, how about we do this? I'm going to stop completely. And when the time is right, you're going to show me an image. And the image is going to be of a door opening, because that is the image I'm going to understand. And yeah, we'll go with that. And so I left it for several months. I didn't think about it, I didn't focus on it. And then I remember I was traveling, I was in Sydney, and I had a phone call from this lady that I was working with in Paris. So I was teaching around the world. And she said to me, hey, when you're in Paris, I noticed you have a week off. I have tickets that are like $100 or €100 to go to New York. Do you want to come with me? And my instantaneous response was, yes, I do. But I know myself, right? And this is the other thing that people don't get. They do not know themselves and how their intuition works. So I know myself, and I know that I get really excited and I say yes to things. And then later on, I feel overwhelmed, or I feel like, oh, I should have thought about this. And so I said to her, give me 24 hours to feel into this, and then I'll get back to you. And so again, I'm just thinking about New York, and I'm thinking, again, I know myself, if I go to New York and I don't like it, then I'm going to self-sabotage. I will sabotage getting a publisher, because I was like, I want a publisher in New York. So I will sabotage it. So it's not a good idea for me to go where I feel like it's so close for me to get a publisher, where again, we have to know ourselves. We have to know what we're capable of. And so I said no to her. It was painful. It was hard to say no. But I remember then going, hold on a sec. Are you telling me that the doors are now open to finding a publisher, or am I just making this up? And I saw a very clear image of doors opening. And then, so at that point, I was like, let's clarify how I want this to look. And I said, well, I want it again to be easy. I want it to be clear. So, like, I want a bell to go off in my head for me to know that this is the right publisher. And the other thing I need is for the publisher, when I speak to them, for them to say, Inna, I've looked at your book, I've loved it, it works, I've tried it, I want to publish it. Unless the publisher says this to me, I'm not interested. So this is my communication with these divine helpers that I've been working with and befriending for quite a few years. Again, then I let it go. I went home, and at the time my partner said, oh, how about I put all the different publishers that I think would be great for you on the floor, with like print their names out and put it on the floor, and you just tune in and pick it, which ones are right. And I was like, absolutely not. This is not how this is going to work. This is ridiculous. I'm not doing that. And then he kept saying, look, I think you should go with Simon Schuster. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'm just going to wait, and I'm going to do it my way. So a week later, the phone rings, and I was like, how come no one's picking up the phone? Because I never picked up the phone, like, ever. And so it's ringing and ringing, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to pick up the phone. So I pick up the phone, and this woman says, oh, hi, I didn't know it was you, Inna. I just want to let you know I love your book. I'm in Queensland. I want to order 20 copies, blah, blah, blah. So we're having a conversation. And then she says, by the way, is your book published in the US? And I remember as she said that, I was like, oh. And I said to her, no, not yet, but I'm looking into this. Why? Do you know someone? And she said, yeah, I actually do. And a few years before that, the book The Secret was published. And she said, "Oh, have you heard of The Secret?" And at that time, I was like, "Yeah, of course I have. Everyone has." And she said, "Well, I'm really close friends with the publisher of that. Would you like me to connect them to you?" And I was like, "Maybe." And then she said, "Hold on, why don't you look at their website and let me know?" And so with my phone, I went downstairs to look at the website. And as I looked at the website, it literally came out of the screen and in front of my eyes. And I went, "Oh my God," to my husband at the time. I said to him, "Oh my God, this is it. This is it. This is the publisher." And so I told her, "Yes, please send him, send the publisher the book." And my partner was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Because I still think it should be Simon Schuster." And I was like, "Oh my God, let it go. Just, yes, I am. I really feel it. I am sure." So a month later, I get a phone call from the publisher, and it was a woman and a man who had the company. And the woman called me, and her name was Cindy, and she said to me, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know I got your book. I read it. I did the processes. It's amazing. It works. I've left it around the office. Everyone's done the processes. It's just amazing. We want to publish it." And I was like, "Okay, great." And she said, "Oh, and by the way, we've just merged with Simon and Schuster as well. So you'll have two publishers. You have one with us and also Simon and Schuster." And she's like, "So when you come to America, you'll come and you'll meet us, and then you'll go to New York and you'll meet the publisher there. And by the way, she's Australian." And so it was just, yeah, it was incredible in terms of having an experience like that. And I just think that it's not just manifesting, it's the tuning in bit that people often don't work with. So they're sitting there and they're trying so hard to manifest something without realizing, well, is it that you're manifesting, or is it that you're really aligning with something and that it works together? You can't force something to happen out of the time where it's meant to happen. And you can get really frustrated and again self-sabotage if you are not aware of the tuning in part.
Mhm. And the tuning in, I love how you put, I jotted it down, divine helpers. I'm like, oh, that's such a fun, playful way of looking at it because there's so many people that connect with and call it a multitude of names, right? From divine, spirit, God. Like there's so many universe names that people give it. So I just love divine helpers. And would you be able to share for somebody who's listening to this and going, "Oh my goodness, I want to start being able to tune in and just going beyond your own intuition, something bigger." Do you have any tips on where to start?
You always start with your heart because that's where it actually, there's an awareness that's being held. You can start by placing your hands on your heart and breathing into that area and just going, what do I really want and why? Not from my head, but why do I want it from my heart? And you start to work with understanding more of the subtleties. So is your heart really open? Does it feel like when you recognize the why, and I talk a lot about the why rather than the how, you just have no idea how something is going to happen. You have to focus on the why. And so when it becomes clear, you'll start to sense how this energy kind of starts pulling things towards you. And this is where that attractor archetype comes in as well, where the more you feed it, the stronger it becomes, and the more it starts attracting things into your life. And so as you're feeling that energy in the heart, it's almost like this game of hot and cold, where you go, does it feel like it's the right time? Does it feel like it's coming towards me? Because I've been in so many situations where people have gone, "You're doing too much, you're pushing too hard, you're trying to do something, and it's just, it doesn't look like it's happening." And sometimes it's not happening for months and months and months. And I trust myself. I don't trust other people. That's how I feel in life, where I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever other people say to me, unless it aligns with what I'm really feeling, it's just like a blah, blah, blah. I don't listen to it. I don't pay any attention to it. I just go, okay, nice perspective, nothing to do with me. I really focus on, how much energy am I putting into this emotional energy, into co-creating this, and does it feel like it's pulling it towards me, or does it feel like it's stuck, or what's going on? So I work with that. And in my life, so many times things have happened where, again, people don't realize the timing, how important timing is. Like, I met my partner that I work with now, who actually runs my whole business, because I just felt that pull and I felt like it's time. And so I went on countless dates. It was like a full-time job. And people were saying, oh my God, you've gone nuts. Like, you're out of control. And it was like, no, I know. And they were like, stop, you need to stop. You need to slow down. And I was like, no, that's your perspective. My perspective is that I don't know why, but I need to meet someone, and I feel like it's really, really close. And so I'm looking and feeling, and you just need to stop talking to me because I'm not interested in your opinion when it comes to this, but I love you and care about you. Just, I will do my own thing. I had no idea. I remember meeting him, and, on day 2, he said to me, oh, I'll be able to help you in the future. And I was like, yeah, right, whatever. And when I had this crash with somebody that I was working with, I remember looking at him and he was like, I can help you. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I don't think you know how to do any of this. Like, this requires a lot of training. And then we started doing things, and I was like, how are you doing this so well? And he was like, well, I told you that I could. And I was like, yeah, but you didn't tell me you had all these skills. And he was like, oh yeah, it's on a need to know basis. So he's like, now you need to know I have them. And it was just amazing, like, that he was able to pick up where things were and just completely transform everything that we were doing. And I just think this happens so often, but people listen to other people and they don't trust themselves. They trust other people's opinions. And this is where so many problems happen. And like you were saying, they don't realize you have this divine team who actually know way more than you do. And so sometimes you need to surrender it. When I first wrote the book, The Secret Language of Your Body, I had decided that I wanted an artist to create pictures for what the body looked like. And I spoke to my publisher about it, and he said, well, I'm not paying for it because that's going to cost thousands and I've already spent a lot. So if you want that, you have to do it yourself. And I was like, fine, I will pay for it. And I said to him, do you know an artist? And he gave me someone. And I was just not having a good feeling about this person. But this is where I trusted the publisher, because, like, he's a publisher and he's an artist himself. He will know. And I had about 6 weeks and I just kept kind of going, can you show me something? And this person was making excuse after excuse after excuse until there was 1 week left. And I remember I was getting really frustrated because I had booked a holiday to go on the next day. And at one point, my husband at the time said to me, you better come home right now because we got the images. You really need to come home. And I was like, is it that bad? And he said, I'm not saying anything. You just need to come home. And so I got home, I looked at the images and I was enraged. They looked like a 6-year-old child had drawn them. And I was like, there's zero chance I can have this in my book. I was so upset. And I remember I was like, right, I'm in a really difficult position because the book is meant to be going to the printers in 1 week. I don't know what I'm going to do. And so I remember thinking, okay, I have this divine help. I am going to calm myself down, meditate, and ask for help and for guidance. And so I remember going to my room, meditating for 5 minutes, but I was agitated. So I was like, you need to give me an answer straight away. It was, I don't know, something like 6 or 7 o'clock at night on the Saturday. And within about 5 minutes, I just got this really clear message: go and sit next to the computer. So I go downstairs, I sit next to the computer. I'm like, now what? And again, this clear, crystal clear message came into my head, which said, put in medical artist. And I remember thinking, this is not my thought. I never thought that this even existed. I didn't know, like, do you know if medical artists exist? Like, it's never, appeared in my mind. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna write it down. So I write down medical artist, and this website comes up, and it's like exactly what I want. And I call my partner over, and I'm like, this is what I want. And he was like, yes, well, that's great, but it's too late. Like, the book's being published, and it's not your choice as well. And he's like, this person's probably in America as well. And I was like, let's scroll down. Where is it? And I was like, oh my God, this person lives 5 minutes away from us. Yeah. So, because he had his address, and I was like, can you call him? Because I'm so like aggravated. And he calls him, and he's like, hi. And then I was like, oh my God, just give me the phone. And I was like, hello. I'm sorry, this is an emergency. I know it's going to sound really weird to you, but you actually live 5 minutes from us. Are you going out by any chance? And this guy's like, yeah, I'm going out for dinner. I'm like, great. Could you please drop into my house? We're literally 5 minutes from you. I really, really need your help. And, this is an emergency. And this guy was like, okay, whatever. And he went, okay, fine. I'll see you in half an hour. So half an hour later, he shows up at our house, and I say to him, this is what I need. Can you do this? And he was like, yes, I can. And I'm like, how long is it going to take? And he was like, 6 weeks. And I went, no, 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 you don't have 6 weeks. He's like, okay, a month. Like, I can't do it for, in less time. And I was like, listen, the fact that you're standing here in front of me is a miracle. Right now, this is a miracle. You have 1 week. You have 1 week to get this done. I can call the publisher and see if he can delay it, and I think I can make that happen. You have to get it done. And he was like, okay. And so, yeah, I had it done. The images, the exact images that I wanted for the book, which there were quite a few, within a week, and it got published like that.
Incredible. And I'm sure for him too, now he has this equally crazy story of you
Yeah.
calling him, of how it played out. That is so fun. Thank you for sharing those stories in there, because I think it really allows people, like, talking about manifestation stuff like this. I feel like we go down the woo rabbit hole, but we should. It's too often that we feel like we have to like be hush hush and not share these stories for fear of what other people will think of us. And I feel like you are the perfect person who started off this conversation by sharing that you were just deleting the white noise of other people coming in. It doesn't matter what other people think. This is your human experience here. So let yourself shape it with your divine helpers. I still love that word. So before I let you go, I would love for you to share what your biggest piece of advice would be for someone to go out and create a life they love.
Learn how to know yourself and how to really tune into your own that heart, that inner knowingness. And it always comes from the heart, even if the intuition comes from other ways. Like for me, sometimes it's dropped in my head, sometimes I hear it, sometimes I get images, but it always starts from my heart and from that place of, do I really, really want this? And why do I want this? Like, why is this important for me specifically? And once I get my why really, really clear, then I know that it's in alignment with the divine plan. And so from there, I just really go for it. And I also recognize that, and I think this is really important, that at times I will fall down and I will have to get up, and it will seem like it may not be working. And at times I will have to take chances, or I will have to go down pathways where I know this is not it yet, but this is a stepping stone. Sometimes people said to me, if your intuition is so great, how come, like that story I shared with my partner taking over from somebody that I was working with, how come you ended up working with her? And it was like, I knew 100% that this woman was not a long-term experience. I knew that she wasn't quite right long-term. And I had friends also saying to me like, oh my God, she's going to rip you up. And she did. But when I connected to myself, I was like, this is the right next step. Whether she does or doesn't, that is her human experience and that is her karma and destiny. Eventually, she will have to balance that out. But for me, this is where I need to be. This is what I need to do, whichever way it shows up. And I remember saying to my partner afterwards, I was like, had I not worked with her, even though I lost lots of money and so on, but I'm like, money is something you can lose and you can make, right? It's just like, that's not it. If that is what's driving you, then you're going to struggle a lot. But if you have something real driving you, which to me was like, I got to help thousands of people while I was working with her that I would not have helped had I not worked with her. So what's that worth? Even though it was hundreds of thousands that she took from me. And I said to my partner at the time, so had she not helped me to start this online, because I had never worked online prior to that, that was during COVID, would you have been able to just start from scratch? And he was like, I mean, I could, but he was like, this was a huge help to navigate and understand and take over. And we both looked at each other and it was like, well, it was an expensive training to get here, but let's go from here and see what we can create, which I think has been like phenomenal, the things that we've created in the few years that we worked together after that, even though we were in debt when we started because of the amount that she ended up taking and so on. And it was like, I don't stop on and give much energy to things that have been challenging, or losses. To me, it's like, okay, get over it as soon as possible and move on. Because if you keep constantly coming back to, oh my God, I should have done this differently, or it didn't work, you are actually stopping yourself from moving forward. Take it as an experience, take it as something to learn from, and then move on as soon as possible and focus on what you really, really want, as opposed to on what happened and what didn't work. Learn from what didn't work. And then I feel like when something doesn't work, I actually connect to my divine team and I'm like, listen, show me where I wasn't listening, what I needed to learn, or why we needed to take this step. And then let's go bigger. Let's go to the next level, because now I've learned stuff, I can grow and expand. And I just think that often people think, oh, if you're intuitive or if you get really successful, you don't have to go through struggles and challenges. It's the stupidest, craziest thing, because every person who's become super successful faces a lot of backlash, which is why the spine needs to be strong and the nervous system needs to be expanded, because at some point you will get hit with something really, really challenging and you have to be able to handle it and move forward no matter what. And I think that people who want to become successful should watch interviews with successful people who've had a big journey. I'm from Australia. I was watching a documentary yesterday about Kylie Minogue, who's super famous here, and all the challenges she went through, from her cancer diagnosis to just being attacked by the media and all of this. And I personally know that when I watch these types of interviews or documentaries, something inside of me goes, I am just going to take that on board and learn from this person and understand that as you grow in whatever area of your life, you will be challenged, and internally, I will do the work to be able to be okay when people criticize you or don't like something you do. And so you become stronger. And I'm against this getting thick skin, because I actually think that that causes disease in your body when people say that, and hardening, and can lead to tumors and so on. For me, it's more about internally growing your inner confidence and understanding of who you are and what your why, what are you here about, and constantly being better with whatever you're doing or giving. So Sorry, that was very long.
That was good. So many powerful insights in there to end this episode on that. And on that note, where can people reach out to you, catch more of your wisdom, carry on this conversation? Because I feel like we could sit here for days and go down so many rabbit holes and still be going.
Very true. So people can go to my website, which is innasegal.com, INNASEGAL.com. And there's a lot of books, there's a lot of card decks that I've created that people can work with. There's a lot of audios. But I also encourage people to go to my masterclass page and check out which masterclass you might be interested in, including one on purpose and understanding your soul purpose, as well as lots to do with healing. And then give yourself 3 to 4 hours with a journal and go through that particular masterclass and do the processes, because every masterclass I do has processes and explanations in it, and then see how you go. And then if you want to go further and deeper, then yeah, connect to my team. And I'm doing a lot of online teaching, and I also have courses that people can just buy and work with in their own time.
Awesome. I will be sure to link all of that in the show notes for the listeners. And thank you so much for joining me on the show today and having this fun conversation.
Thank you so much.